evening all. Again, we'll go through, I suppose, the facilities management. Again, it's a virtual open evening, as the slide there is showing, so we can move on, I suppose, to the next one. And I suppose what we're going to look at, the, in today's evening session, we're going to look at the tiers of excellence, the 4 tiers. We're going to look at the IWFM levels 3, 4, and 5. A very attractive one in there, which is gaining momentum, is the IWFM Level 5 Sustainability and Environmental Issues in FM. Again, I suppose facilities is a real touch point for sustainability right now. We looked in at the new level line in PSG Innovation for sustainability in the workplace. And there's also a new postgraduate certificate in facilities management. And we're also going to look at the MSc. Is the degree program missing there, Brandon?
It's just in the middle. It's because it's not bolded, but the BSc honors in facilities management as well. It's just above the level 9 postgrad certificate.
Oh, you're right. It wasn't highlighted, so I missed it. Apologies.
No.
Apologies. Okay.
All right.
So understanding, I suppose, FM facilities management with Portobello Institute. And facility management is the invisible delivery of support services that enables a client's business, their workplace, and their people to go about their day in an efficient and productive manner with no interruption from external distractions.
And I just wanted to include there my direct contact details for afterwards, just so that you all saw it.
Okay. So it's very, I suppose, it's very clear, and we need to be precise on this, is that every business, irrespective of what sector they're in, has a facilities requirement, a facilities function, from the small retailers to the large multinationals. And again, facilities has 3 primary focuses, and you'll see top of the list there is sustainability, soft and technical services. And it's a service, I suppose, therefore it's based on the provision of human capital, because facilities commands big budgets every year to run an organization. And it's becoming more critical, I suppose, to business, as highlighted through COVID-19. And again, I suppose COVID-19 really brought facilities had to act quickly, change how things were happening, make the workplace safer. It became, I suppose, the voice in the organizations, certainly my organization, even down to advice around when staff were looking at coming back in, and again, being kind of, I suppose, the gamekeeper or gatekeeper for making sure that the office was kept free from COVID and so forth. And again, having the whole policy changed, how cleaners operated. The maintenance was stepped up as well, on the basis that you had, you normally might have had a quarter PPMs, preventative maintenance, that probably came 3 months. And again, depending on the needs. So the whole thing changed very much with COVID. And also, I suppose, business, again, with the whole business continuity planning as well. And, something has just come to light there this evening, and I have a meeting with my team in IT next week, and that's the whole potential risk of power shortages and power cuts coming into the autumn. Again, it's been flagged, and again, it's a thing that facilities are very much involved in, and can, I suppose, help making sure that there's a plan in place and so forth, and be able to give advice on that. And then sustainability, there's a huge focus on this as well, on facilities management. And again, for example, we have started, we are 3/4 way through a carbon footprint audit, and the whole, I suppose, thing around sustainability and what we're doing, recycling, there is so much has come into play on that. And so again, I'm very, I suppose, up to speed on what's expected there, even down to the materials that are used and so forth, and making sure that, again, that we're complying with our own policies.
Yeah, I'm also finding that a lot of people are talking about space as a service now with the sort of the hybrid approach as well, being able to sort
Yeah,
of utilize
that
that
is
office space.
that is very true. Actually, one thing I was talking, Brandon, thank you for that, because it has kind of made another alert for me, and that is, I was talking to a couple of landlords over the last few days, and what they're finding is a lot of companies now are deciding to reduce the size of the real estate they have, which again goes in line with the hybrid working. And I know I've been doing stats for the last while, and we have kind of our biggest department would be 78 people, and the max number that has come in that group is 35, which means do they need 78 seats? And they're the kind of thoughts. And so you are right, the whole thing about space planning and where we're going with that is going to be a big feature as well. So,
and actually, just to take one quick step back to realize that we hadn't really introduced ourselves. So just to let you know, I'm Brandon. I'm the corporate admission manager at Portobello Institute, which generally means that I look after the admissions for what are predominantly more corporate-led programs like facilities management, aviation management, that sort of thing. My direct contact details are there. And Henry.
Yeah, I work as a director in facilities and responsibility for facilities, procurement, health and safety. I suppose I've worked in a lot of sectors: telecommunications, retail, public sector, banking, and I've been an associate tutor with Portobello for probably 10 years at this stage, and I'm heavily involved in the levels 3 and 4 in IWFM and so forth, and helping out where I can. So again, I'm always available, for students when they're involved in any delivery of any modules to help out.
And I can do this one. So basically the programs that we have the IWFM programs, levels 3, 4, and 5. Now, one thing to note is that oftentimes when these are being discussed in Ireland, they're considered roughly 1 to 2 levels different on the National Framework of Qualifications. So something like an IWFM Level 5 diploma is actually considered more comparable to an NFQ Level 7 award. But we'll go through each of these and sort of who fits into them. But just to give you a bit of a sense, there's never any lost space. A lot of them sort of interact with each other. So as an example, and we'll talk about progression routes, but completing the IWFM Level 4 diploma, even though you can see there the BSc Honors degree is a 3-year degree, completing IWFM Level 4 would allow you to go directly into year 2 of the degree. Completing IWFM Level 5 would allow you to then go directly 3 into the degree. So there's a lot of give and forth, but we can go through those in a little bit. Anything you want to add to this, Henry?
No, I think you've described it perfectly. Like, they're stepping stones, really. And again, I'd always advise somebody who's coming into, who's been away from education for some time, maybe to do a CERT first. And again, it won't be wasted, as you've said, you'll get the credits and you can either jump into year 2 or year 3 of the BSc.
Perfect. Here's the IWFM 3 for you.
Yeah, again, we have 3, 4, 5, 6 modules. Introduction to facilities management. Strangely enough, I deliver this one. So again, as I said, it's a very good one, I suppose, to start with. Then we've corporate social responsibility and sustainability in FM, and you've customer and stakeholder relations in FM. And again, that's very important, because at the end of the day, all the people in the organization, they're your customers, and you have to make sure that they're satisfied at the end. Specification and procurement of facility supplies and service. Again, that's another one I deliver. Again, it's pretty key, because I mentioned at the offset, facilities are responsible for big budgets and getting the specs right, making sure you're buying the right quantities, making sure you're buying the right sources. That is kind of very much a feature of that module. Health and safety responsibilities in FM, I deliver that as well. And again, that's paramount, I suppose. We've our health and safety hats on us as we enter the workplace, making sure staff are safe, making sure people are comfortable. And throughout COVID, health and safety was very important. And staff I think staff took a new meaning from health and safety when COVID kicked in. They kind of saw it as a bother, I think, pre-COVID. But when COVID kicked in, it was they took it, in the I suppose in the sense it was and it was respected, which was good. And the last module then is the budget management of FM again, which is key. Budget management, as I said, is key because we have big budgets, and again, where you can reduce and cut costs and so forth is important. And you actively work and look at that from reducing your supply base to your consolidation. There's lots of ways how you can manage the budget.
And who I would think would be good on this one would generally be somebody who maybe has their toe in, let's say, the health and safety aspect, or maybe they've been asked to do a little bit of the procurement, but they might work in a different, they might work, predominantly, let's say, in security or something like that. And but they want to have a better understanding of what a facilities operator does and what that sort of a role would lead to. Does that track with you?
Yeah, 100%. It's actually funny. I had to write a piece recently for where I work about a day in the life of Henry Sheehan, and one of the things I said was, no 2 days are the same. There's always the element of surprise. You have to be prepared, and you have to kind of be sharp every day and so forth. And so again, I said, but the variety, I suppose, that's why I suppose a lot of us that are in facilities like the variety and so forth, and that's important. Moving on then to the level 4 modules, we have overview of facilities management. Again, I'm involved in the delivery of that one. Again, it's a good overview of what happens in relation to the functions and what we're responsible for and so forth from both an operational, strategic and tactical perspective. Again, managing health and safety in your own FM, again, I suppose it's very much an enlargement of what you would have done in level 3. But again, if you do level 3, risk management, and I deliver that one as well. Risk management would be another one of the ones I deliver. Again, and risk, I suppose, every time we make a decision in facilities or in a business, we're perceived as taking a slight risk, and whether that's appointing a supplier, or whether the risk of maybe getting certain works done and all. So we talk a lot about, I suppose, making sure that we have a method statement, from a supplier before they conduct the work, so we're not caught. Financial management, again, I think is self-explanatory. You'd be delighted to know I don't deliver that one. Then we have the FM support service operations as well. Again, again, that's important as well from the point of view you're supporting the business. And as a CFO said to me in my last job, he said, facilities is the touch point for every department, in terms of if you take on these courses and programs, you'll find that again, facilities get more and more involved in different things. Like, for example, I've got involved in certain benefits, negotiating certain contracts, benefits for staff, which again would be typically seen as a HR function. But again, because I have some key, or I'm perceived as someone who has some negotiating skills, that they let me loose on it. People management, I suppose, again, managing people in an organization in FM is pretty key. And anybody who's managing people, it's probably 40% of their time between coaching them, advising them, and managing them. And again, that's one I deliver. It's it kind of you get to know about the people's performance, how you can motivate staff, their whole recruitment process, and how that's key as well. Insofar that you hire the right people, because hiring the wrong person is no good for anybody, and at the end of the day, so that's important. Property fabric and building service maintenance is another one, which again is important in terms of you have your assets for the various, I suppose, assets within the building, and they're obviously depreciated over a certain period of time. You have FM strategy then, which again is kind of looking at and Brandon kind of alluded to there earlier in terms of, the managing space, looking ahead. Like, we're looking now at a 10-year plan with regard to the space and how that's going to look, what it should look like in terms of growth. I'm closely linked to HR in terms of getting headcount numbers, see where the growth is over the last number of years, what the growth has been since 2021, and the areas likely to grow. And again, I suppose, and again, formulating policies then as well around, in terms of simple things like, how many desks are allocated. Again, there has to be a policy then on the basis of how many times people are in the office. Say, so the kind of the kind of the rule at the moment that they're applying with lots of companies is if you're in the office 4 days a week, you've got a permanent desk. Anything less than that, you're hot desking, or and that's kind of again, but that's a strategy that needs to be looked at and signed off. Then we look at the procurement and contract management in FM. Again, I'm involved in that one, deliver that one. Again, that's a very good one on the basis, again, managing contracts, again, making sure that you're getting bang for buck. Get a small little example. The current company I went into, they had a contract, and it was a rolling contract, and it had increased in price over 7 years by 48%. Went to tender it in 2020, and we had 3 contracts, or 3 providers, and we've now got one with the price fixed, and we're back, believe it or not, to 2010 pricing. But again, simple things. Then the management of information and knowledge in FM, again, that's one I deliver as well. And again, it's a very, I suppose you're all, like, you think about it, staff often comment, people in facilities have all the knowledge, they know exactly what's going on, but how you manage all that knowledge as well, again, in terms of, and we communicate quite a bit as well, so it's important to have the right knowledge and so forth again. So that's kind of level 4.
And who I find is often looking at this one tends to be somebody who maybe is a facilities coordinator. They're in operations. They tend to be strong in about 3 or 4 of these things, and they tend to maybe have done that for a few years, but there's a few areas where they lack. And I'm going to go into this more with the IWFM 5 in a moment, but essentially where I often get people is that they're finding it hard to be internally promoted, and people management often is what it comes down to. They need to be able to show that they're capable of that to sort of make the next step. So
yeah, good. Yeah.
There you are.
Level 5, then we have organizational and facilities management strategy. Again, we have managing people in FM. We have property, fabric, and building service maintenance. Again, managing procurement and contracts in FM. We have risk management in FM. And I suppose there's a new one there, development and the trends in FM and what's happening, in terms around FM, I suppose. One of the things, I suppose, is, and we've alluded to earlier, sustainability, managing your carbon footprint, and simple things like, for example, one of the things we've done now in our organization is we've reduced the number of times deliveries that were coming in once, twice a week. Now we've been curtailed to once a month. Again, it's to reduce that. We've also got a big ethos now on cycle to work schemes, got a lot more people cycling. Again, that's reducing the carbon footprint. So it's all, it's a trend that's happening. Financial management in an FM, managing health and safety in your own FM, and exemptions. So again, now I'm not delivering any of those modules. Again, Brandon, if you want to make any comments.
Yeah. Well, generally, who I tend to see coming on this one is somebody who maybe is looking after a number of locations, or they're managing a team, or they tend to be managing a lot of external contracts. So a lot of the time they are the ones, responsible for getting in the cleaners and getting in everything. And also, as I said, managing those contracts and making sure that everything is, up to par. What often happens with the IWFM programs is that somebody tells me, and the story that I hear is pretty much the same every time. I started as this, and then I was given this responsibility, then this responsibility, and I discovered that made me a facilities manager. And the only thing that ever changes is how long they've been doing it and what roles they currently own. So what I do love about the IWFM programs is that you can enter at any appropriate level given your work experience, but that a lot of the times what you do find when you've been essentially promoted through roles is that you have strong strengths and you have slightly weaker weaknesses. And so that might be that you have developed a lot of knowledge and a lot of, comfortable familiarity with risk management, health and safety, and maybe property, fabric, and building services, but where you actually have not developed a lot is in, let's say, the financials, being able to take a profit and loss report and really identify from those statistics what is causing, certain losses, and being able to sort of, identify what strategies could be put in place to sort of correct those. So a lot of the times that's where that leads, but the beautiful thing about the IWFM programs is that we look at experience as the primary thing. So for this, I'm pretty much asking for a CV, and that's where we kind of, make an assessment of where you're going to fit in. The goal is always to make sure that you're not under challenged, but not, sinking in the deep end. So we want to make sure that we find the right program to, fill some of the gaps, and also just make sure that you're comfortably learning, but moving forward.
Oh, Brandon, I think that's, if I can say, that's very much in evidence, because I work with a couple of other colleges as well, and that's one thing I find, that sometimes students are out of that depth. But the one thing I'll say about Portobello, they seem to get it right insofar as you said, the CV is important. See people's experience and fit them in then, and see how they go. I think you've often had someone that want to join a level 4 or 5, but based on their CV, they probably should start at level 3. So take the guidance in that, because I think you're doing it quite well. So keep it up.
Thank you. And then, the IWFM 5 and sustainability, it did come about because there was a lot of focus on the sustainability whenever it came to the IWFM programs. That seemed to be the module that got everybody very excited, or whenever that came up as a topic, it got people amped up. We know that it's a shift in the sector, that there's more and more focus on it. And so we have developed a postgraduate certificate in innovation and sustainability as well. But the hardest thing there is that it's not a graduate-led sector at the moment. So a lot of the facility managers out there are extremely capable, very, very knowledgeable, but they don't necessarily hold level 8 degrees. And that tends to be the natural entry point for a level 9 program that's holding a level 8. So we've also brought out the IWFM level 5, which could help fill some of those, and would just help you sort of show that you're capable at, roughly an NFQ level 7 program before continuing on.
Good. Yeah.
All right. I'll skip the bridging program because it's not exactly relevant here, but I will briefly say to it that it's something that we developed because of the slight gap between the IWFM level 4 and somebody who might just not quite have enough of a qualification in order to get to the year 2 of the degree, but they really wanted year 2 of the degree. It's something that we generally only run in the summer, though, so we will push past that. All right, back to you, Henry.
Yeah, so we have the BSc here, Facilities Management and Workplace Management. And again, it's a 3-year degree program. Again, year 1, we start out, I think, with fundamentals of management. And again, decision-making in facilities management is an important module. When you think about it, I always say that there's four things to consider when you're making a decision, if you're in facilities, I suppose, or any manager for that matter. First of all, if you're making a decision to award a contract with a supplier or whatever, the supplier has to be happy with the decision. The second group, I suppose, that have to be happy is the organization you're representing. They have to be happy that the decision is right. The third group then is your own department that you're representing. They have to be comfortable that Henry or John or Brandon has made the right decision. And the fourth one then is you yourself. So there's 4, I suppose, boxes to tick, if you like, when you're, and it's just a small piece there on decision making and facilities management. And you'll always find in making decisions that you very often have to consult a lot of people. Something that seems straightforward, but for political reasons and for whatever in an organization, that you have the box ticked, that you have everyone, that you did talk to John, you did talk to Mary, and that everyone is comfortable with what you're doing, and then you make the decision. Or it's like issuing a communication. Again, understanding workplace and facilities management, and again, that they're going to be very important as we go forward, I think, because understanding how the workplace works and so forth, and the workplace operations and facilities management.
And then who would generally come onto this would be anybody, if they were slightly younger, I would say anybody with a leaving cert is, capable. There's going to be slight requirements there, but because the majority of the people that I speak to are over the age of, 21, 23, they apply as mature students. So leaving cert results don't necessarily matter. What I generally ask for a year 1 entry is a CV. I just look for enough experience that I think you'd be comfortable with sort of that entry level, material, and that you'd be confident in your eventual career path.
Now, year 2 of the BSc, again, we've there's a business research method, and again, leadership and change in the workplace again, which is a very important one, because facilities very often have to lead the change. Maybe we often talk about I suppose culture and how you have to change a culture. And I suppose a very good example of it throughout COVID was a lot of companies looked at software as a desk booking system. And I remember we trialed it, and we trialed it for a few months, and what we were finding was people were booking the desks, but when they actually came in, they didn't like the desk they had booked and they went somewhere else. Now, what they didn't know was that the desk they had booked, there was already a cleaning schedule going to the cleaners on it as to what desk to clean. And I remember having a conversation with the managing director, and I said to him, look, I said, the software is going to cost, there's going to be a fee every month for the software package, which is fine. But I said, if the software doesn't change the behaviors, there's probably little point in pursuing with it. So what we did was we appointed seating planners for each department who basically controlled, and that worked. But again, just a small example, in terms around the leadership and the change in the workplace. Workplace risk management again, risk. I sit in a risk committee in the organization, and we discuss the various risks. And from the point of view of, I know that certainly one of the key ones I'm going to have on the one for the September one will be the whole thing on power, and in terms of potential power outages and so forth. I know we had this as well last year, but we have to be prepared, because I know that was there another license given. The data centers now are being targeted as big users of the grid, and there's another one appointed. So, and I have pity for people who have bought electric cars. Will they be able to charge the cars down the road if this continues? So we looked in at the property and asset management, again, in the FM space. Managing people for facility management, again, is very important, as I said, because if you're a manager, you have to lead the team, support them, and get the best out of them. And again, look at their development as well. Like one of the golden rules I have for the team, I have that they go on a course every year applicable to what they're doing, from whether procurement, health and safety, or it's managing finance, or looking at budgets or whatever. And again, that's for their development, which is important. And then budgeting in for facilities management, again, needs no introduction, I think, managing budgets, because very often we can be judged on how we manage the budgets or not.
Yeah, and sometimes, it could be the difference between being reactionary or being proactive, and having that conversation, sort of selling up, as it were, about a slightly increase in the budget, which could lead to a long-term decrease. But who generally comes on to year 2 of the degree? Year 2, by the way, is essentially comparable to IWFM Level 5. So in order to get on to year 2, you would want to have either NFQ Level 6, sorry, so it's comparable to IWFM Level 5, which would mean that you would want an IWFM Level 4 diploma to get into it, or something NFQ Level 6, but a full diploma. So if you've done a full Level 6 diploma in business, then that would be the type of thing that could allow you to get advanced entry onto the year 2. The thing about advanced entry when it comes to the degree program is, imagine that it's a 3-year degree. Your final award is going to be a level 8 degree. Think of it as a pyramid. We need to sort of show that you have met academically every level of the pyramid all the way up to the top. So we would look at prerequisites, in which case year 2 it would be NFQ Level 6 that you've already done, not necessarily a certificate or a short course, but something comparable to a full diploma.
Okay, thank you. And then the final year 3, we're looking at strategic management in the workplace. Again, we've spoken about strategy already, and it's kind of looking at, planning ahead. And like, for example, as I said, I've called a meeting now for next week on the whole energy power piece of it in the event of, and again, that's kind of, nobody been thinking about it. So, but again, I spoke to the IT director today, and he said, yeah, that's a good idea to make sure we have it boxed off and that we're ready in the event of. Project management, I suppose, is something that concerns every facilities person, because there's always projects, from office moves to, people moving from one floor to another, planning the move, getting all the bits and pieces. In fact, I remember last year, October of last year, we had a big plan. Our generator the breakers were not releasing after you switched from the mains to the generator back. So I saw this as a major risk, and the IT director wasn't happy about doing the work in October because it's our busy period, October, November. And I said, look, the bigger issue for me is that if we don't do anything about it, and Murphy's Law, there's a power surge at the weekend, nobody in the building, generator runs out of fuel, and where are we then? So I went to the managing director and I explained it, and he said, Henry, I'm with you. He said, do it, he said. But the one thing I did was we forward planned for a few weeks, got all the engineers in that we needed for the various parts of the generator and the circuit breakers and whatnot, IT, and everyone knew what they had to do. And it went like clockwork. But again, that was project managing it, I suppose, on the Saturday. Again, we took down the power at a time that was least disruptive to the business, and would, and again, communicated in advance there'd be no power, not to visit the building in this period of time. And again, it went well. And that's kind of a small example of a fairly risky project, if you like. But again, it was the planning of it that was key. Then we look at CSR, the corporate social responsibility, which is a big feature for organizations as well, and the energy management in facilities. And one of the big things I did when I came into the current organization, we decided to move from, we had 5 suppliers for energy. And I said, why have we got 5 suppliers? So we did 3, we had an objective, then we said we go to tender. And the objectives were to reduce it to 1, consolidate it into 1, and buy green. And we did that. And we fixed it for 1 year, and we refixed it July of last year. And we've saved quite a bit of money because there's been a lot of increases. But again, that was an example to me of kind of looking at that. Then we look at the workplace and facility management support service operations, procurement and contract management for the workplace, again, financial management, and again, the workplace facilities management research assignment. So I think you might have a few bits to say now, Brandon.
Yeah, well, a lot of the times the next thing I get asked, well, I get asked 2 things actually with this, with the research assignment. A lot of the times when somebody is looking at corporate sponsorship, what they actually find, and what I've heard from them, is that they find it's a very valuable time to be able to sort of push forward an idea that they've wanted to sort of get a bit more weight behind it, to make a change in their own organization, and this creates sort of the perfect opportunity for them to do that. But in terms of the who comes on to year 3, it is a BSc honors degree. Remember, that's a level 8. So what you would need to go directly into that year would be a level 7. So sometimes people will hold a level 7 degree or a level 7 diploma from a past life, another organization, and it's just about sort of using that then to go directly into year 3. Also, just to mention that the BSc honors degree in total is accredited by the London Metropolitan University. So just like our IWFM program is accredited by IWFM, this is accredited by London Met. There you are. Postgrad.
Okay. Brandon, do you want to speak about that?
Sure, if you'd like, yeah. As I mentioned before, we did have a lot of interest when it came specifically around innovation for sustainability in the workplace. So this level 9 postgraduate certificate does look at innovation and design principles for sustainability, implementing sustainability in the workplace, and the fundamentals of ESG and sustainability. Why people have asked very much, about this course in particular, is that they look at a master's. I find that it's often people who have, finished our level 8 undergraduate degree, and they've sort of said, okay, that was an amazing, 1 to 3 years, but I either need a little bit of a break, or I don't know that I could take on, the full weight of doing a master's program now. Do you have anything that would allow me to have a level 9 that would be just slightly less income percent, or that I could balance, work with just a little bit better? And the answer is a postgraduate certificate. So this postgrad is essentially 4 months. It does allow you to, just like all of our programs do, allow you to work while you're doing them. They are all specifically designed to kind of balance with a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, although I know a lot of facility managers do not necessarily work 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, but they're designed to be sort of outside of those hours. So they take place in this case with a weekend delivery, and it's live webinars. The IWFM programs, there's a variety of ways that they're run, but predominantly it's going to be, an evening on a weekday that'll be delivered. They are all delivered online so that they can also be recorded, which means that in the event that a work emergency pops up that you cannot possibly get out of, or in the case that I think about, all of us right now probably have a number of weddings to attend this fall, something that is just, you can't move it. It's on a Saturday, and that's all there is. Then you can rewatch the actual recording, so that way you can catch up. Now, I wouldn't recommend relying on that for the entire program, because a big benefit of doing these is the live lectures, the fact that you can ask questions from the students. You can actually make sure that you do relate the material to your own workplace, so that you can internalize that information even more and use it forward. But that is the benefit of the level 9, is that it is slightly shorter. It does allow you to have a level 9 postgraduate certificate. That tends to be something that is very valued when it comes to promotion, and specifically it's in sustainability, because that seems to be where a lot of the interest is, and also where a lot of the learner's passion comes from that we're speaking to at the moment. And then the postgrad certificate in facilities management, it's essentially modules from the master's. So in the event that the master's does seem a little bit too big for you to handle at the moment, then you can do the postgraduate certificate in FM, which is essentially these 3 modules: the strategic facilities management, strategic management in the workplace, and the fundamentals of ESG and sustainability. So you'd have some overlap there. Whichever you chose, if you did, you would then be exempt from a module or 2 off the master's program, in the event that you did return to complete it as a full master's award. But yeah, we can speak about that individually. And then there's the master's. Now, the one thing I do love about the way that the master's has been set up is that a lot of the time you have a master delivered over 2 years or 3 academic semesters, but they're very broad. So for example, if you were starting in October, and then you went into, let's say, January, and then you started again your second semester in February, and you went to May, and then you would have the summer off, and then you would start again in September or October, and you'd go again till January. Then essentially a program that you're starting in the fall of 2022, you're actually completing in 2024. What we've done with this, keeping facility managers in mind, is we've designed it to be the 3 semesters consecutive, so that essentially you can do it 1 full year, but it will allow you to sort of work on your large project in the summer, which would mean that you would be able to sort of have a little bit more balance with that, but that you'd be able to complete the MSc within a 1 year. What you'd be doing on it: fundamentals of CSR and sustainability, strategic FM. Strategic FM is a really big part of the master's. Project management, and the big academic focus on peer-reviewed academic foundations. This is very much an academic paper. I mean, as you go through each of the levels, whether you're looking at IWFM 3 or the master's, how I often describe the graduation of levels is that you're almost narrowing the view. So it might start with something as simple as, what is a house? A house is, 4 walls, a ceiling, and a floor. Okay, but what really is a house? Okay, well, a house is 4 walls, a ceiling, a floor, a door, a couple of windows, and you'd have rooms. Okay, but what's in a room? Okay, here's what's actually in a room. And so every level that you go up, it looks even more granular and even more focused. I know a friend of mine did an entire PhD on one ship's, what all of the people that went on one ship, and I'm Canadian, by the way, in case I haven't mentioned, but on one ship that went from Scotland to Canada, and it was about every single person that was on board that ship, and that was her PhD, because it was that focused. And a lot of time, education is the same, in that the higher you go, the more granular, the more focused, the more you're really zeroing in on something. And so that was semester 1. Semester 2, management, learning, and research, strategic operations, financial management. And then there's the 3rd semester, which is in the summer. That's the industry capstone project. Now, I think you're going to be introducing some people. Would you like to introduce Bernard?
Bernard, yeah, he's Senior Lecturer and Managing Director, Berkeley Solutions, with a proven international multi-site, multidisciplinary track record in operations, excellence, business development, project management, utilities and facilities. and he's a lifelong student of organizational behavior and operational excellence, and he continues to deliver measured customer-centric results through his consulting and Berkeley Solutions. So he's an excellent communicator and leader at all levels, has over 15 years of experience in lecturing, training and development, holds a strong belief in the power of change management through continuous improvement, transformational and lean programs.
And Bernard is a senior lecturer on the degree program, as well as I believe he's going to be looking after the postgraduate certificate in sustainability as well. I can introduce Derek. Derek is currently lead facilitator and director of DF Leap Consulting, and has previously worked as a senior specialist in the area of management, leadership, and communications with the IMI, the Irish Management Institute. He has over 30 years experience in learning design, management, coaching, and development, while spending 15 years in a large multinational corporation, working with both businesses and academia in Europe, Asia, and America. Derek began his career as an engineer, but became passionately involved in psychology in his 20s, leading him to lecture in leadership and management. He has published a number of books, including Discovering Your Style and Dealing with Difficult People. That would come in handy. Would you like to take Owen?
Yeah, Owen O'Sullivan, facilities manager, lead tutor. Again, he has amassed 10 years of experience in construction and 20 years of experience in facilities management. Began his career in mechanical services, working on construction projects in the Greater Munster area, including Cork Airport. He then took up a position in a large private healthcare facility in Cork, where he started his journey in FM. Owen has always been a keen advocate of continuous personal and professional development. Businesses today recognise this and reward it to those individuals. He has multiple qualifications in areas such as mechanical services, process and chemical engineering, electrical and gas systems, leading empowerment organisations, IOSH accreditation, and project managers.
And what I love about all of these, Henry has already introduced himself, so I won't make him do it again.
Keep going.
But what I do love about this, though, is the variety of the background. It is just as you said, Henry. Facilities management. There is a facilities manager in everything that is a facility, and it really does mean that you get a lot of different perspectives, different backgrounds, different people who do things different ways, but then all coming together to sort of help each other with solutions.
And that's the key thing, you just mentioned it there. As a facilities person, as you get more and more experience, you are expected to come where there's a challenge. You're meant to come with potential solutions of what can resolve it, rather than coming and scratching your head and say, how are we going to solve this? So you have to have thought it out in advance.
Perfect. Okay, well, we will take some questions, but that is my direct contact detail as well there. A lot of the times, the next thing that I get asked, just as anybody posts any questions that they'd like to ask, is what next? And as I said, generally, if you're confused, if you're not sure where to start, I always say the easiest thing is to send me a CV. I have seen a lot of CVs, and so a lot of the time it's just a matter of looking for certain things. I'm looking for amount of years managing people. I'm looking for things like the amount of time in certain industries or in certain roles, the correlation between certain roles and facilities. There's a lot of things. It's hard to say exactly what I look for, because what I look for is a balance. And I want to make sure, as I said before, that we don't put you in any program that is a little bit too far into the deep end for you, but I also want you to be challenged. So it's about finding that kind of, nice little balance. If it comes to CVs too, if you happen to keep your LinkedIn updated, but you don't necessarily have a CV, there is a nice little thing on LinkedIn where you can download your profile just as a PDF. And I've received a number of those, so you're more than welcome to do that as well. Is there anything, Henry, you wanted to add?
No, I suppose the only thing I would add is that, the facilities function is the fastest growing function now in Europe, Ireland, and you look at all the roles, and the going back to college and studying is key, particularly if you want to develop and advance and get to the top level. That's what you need to do.
I actually find that a lot of the time HR managers don't necessarily understand facilities. They sort of take a very broad understanding of it, so that when they are posting for a role, they might just naturally click that box that says minimum qualification 8, and they don't understand that the majority of strong facility managers at the moment may not hold a level 8 currently, and so it can create almost a a false filter and take people out that ought to be in sort of consideration. So being able to sort of do that upskill will help not only fill some gaps for yourself, but also just make sure that you are, able to sort of push forward.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, it is 7:28, almost like we timed this. We're meant to be done at 7:30, so we won't keep you if there's no other questions, but I do want to thank you all for coming, for taking the time. Hope to hear from you, and wish you a pleasant evening.